So in exactly 1,260 days, according to this uh, really comprehensive synthesis of ancient Vedic texts we're looking at today, the underlying spiritual current of the universe is just
It's going to be severed.
completely,
Somewhere.
right, completely severed. Like, we are talking about a total mechanical blackout.
Yeah.
No sudden bursts of inspiration, no, divine luck, no overarching moral arc to history. Just this planetary dark night where the cosmic engine simply idles.
It is a profoundly unsettling concept, I mean, when you really sit with it.
Oh, absolutely.
But to even begin to understand what that blackout means or, why this text predicts it so mathematically, you kind of have to dismantle how you view reality right now.
Yeah, which is hard to do.
It is, because we tend to view history as the result of human choices, right? And we view our personal lives as the result of our own hard work. But this text posits that we are actually living inside an intricate mechanical machine.
Exactly. So, welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive, crafted specifically for you, the listener. Today, our mission is to explore a fascinating, absolutely massive spiritual mega-report.
Yeah, it's dense.
It really is. It's simply titled Daiva. And, okay, let's unpack this. This is not your typical self-help manual or some vague philosophical musing.
Not at all.
This source material synthesizes ancient wisdom. Like, we're talking the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Puranas, teachings of great saints. And it maps all of that directly onto modern historical events.
Right, practical examples.
Exactly. It aims to explain the actual mechanics of destiny, the structural engineering of the cosmos, and the shifting of global eras, which it calls Yuga Parivartan.
And what's fascinating here is that this text refuses to treat spirituality as just an abstract, comforting philosophy.
Yeah, no fluff.
Right, no fluff. It doesn't ask you to blindly believe in a benevolent force that just, magically makes things happen. Instead, it treats the spiritual realm as a functional, mechanical science of the universe.
Which is wild.
It's literally laying out the gears, the torques, and the kinetic energy of reality itself.
So, for you listening, whether you are trying to understand the absolute chaos of current global events, or just trying to figure out why your own life takes the weird turns it does, we are going to take you on a highly structured exploration of this text.
Without the jargon overload, hopefully.
Right. No unexplained jargon,
No.
just deep mechanical analysis. But before we get to the impending blackout or the rise and fall of empires, we have to start at the absolute foundation.
The basics.
Yeah. We need to completely redefine the word destiny because, our modern definition is completely missing the mark, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, when we use the word destiny or fate today, we usually mean something passive.
Like a script.
Exactly, like a predetermined script, a book that has already been written, and we are just helplessly acting out the scenes.
Or we just think of it as random luck.
Right, a random roll of the dice in a chaotic universe. But the scriptures analyzed in this report define it entirely differently. They use the term Daiva. And Daiva is not a passive script. It is the active, dynamic, forceful will of the divine that actually drives the entire creation forward.
So it's moving.
It is pure kinetic energy. It is momentum.
Momentum. Okay. So it's not a destination you arrive at, it's the engine pushing you toward it.
Yes.
And the text gives us a visual representation of this, which I found incredibly surprising. It talks about the swastika.
Yeah, that's a heavy one to unpack.
It really is. Now, obviously, we have to acknowledge that this symbol carries a very heavy, dark, and specific historical weight in the modern Western world because of how it was co-opted and corrupted in the 20th century.
Of course.
But going back thousands of years to its ancient origins, the source text says the swastika is not just a drawing, and it's certainly not just a symbol of, like, good luck.
Right.
It is described as a literal functional diagram, a Kriyat Mak Arek, like a diagram of Daiva.
Yes, a functional schematic. If we connect this to the bigger picture, imagine looking at a university physics textbook. You see a diagram showing arrows of force, torque, and rotational energy around a central axis. The ancient swastika is exactly that.
Right.
It represents God's dynamic will in continuous motion. It's an axis with arms extending outward, bent at right angles, visually demonstrating rotational momentum.
That is so specific.
It is showing how the central stillness of the divine spins outward to generate the sheer mechanical force that runs the cosmos.
That completely shifts how you view ancient iconography. It's not primitive art, it's structural engineering.
Exactly.
It's showing you the torque of the universe. And this force, this Daiva, is the absolute foundation of all action. The text says that all actions performed by deities, by cosmic forces, and by us humans are fundamentally inspired and mediated by Daiva.
We can't act without it.
Right. We can't even form an intent to act without this underlying current moving through us.
That is the crux of the entire philosophy. It is the ultimate foundation of karma. You can't separate the action from the energy source that allows the action to happen.
Makes sense.
The report brings in some massive scriptural authorities to prove this point too. It quotes Maharishi Vedavyasa from the Mahabharata.
And what does he say?
He explicitly says, Daiva alone is supreme, human effort is meaningless.
Wow.
And then it pulls from the Ramcharitmanas by Goswami Tulsidas, stating that profit, loss, life, death, fame, and infamy are entirely in the hands of Vidi, which is another word for Daiva, or the creator's active will.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate for the listener here.
Go for it.
Because if we take Vedavyasa's quote literally, that human effort is meaningless without Daiva, how does that not completely crush our modern worldview?
I know, it's harsh.
I mean, we live in the era of hustle culture.
Yeah.
We are taught from childhood that if you just grind harder, put in your 10,000 hours, and optimize your morning routine, you will succeed.
The will pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing.
Exactly. But this text seems to be saying, well, actually, if the cosmic current isn't with you, your hustle is a joke.
It does challenge that modern paradigm quite aggressively, yeah.
Yeah.
But we need to look at the exact mechanics of what Vedavyasa is saying.
Okay.
He doesn't say human effort is inherently pointless. He says it is meaningless without Daiva. It's a subtle but crucial distinction.
How so?
Well, hustle culture assumes that sheer force of will operating in a vacuum is enough. This text argues that there is no vacuum. You are operating within a massive, pre-existing system of fluid dynamics.
So is it like fluid dynamics in a river? Let's say human effort, our hustle, is a high-powered motor on a boat.
I like that.
We can build the best motor, optimize the fuel, steer with perfect precision. But Daiva is the actual water flow, the massive churning river current.
Right.
If the current is a Category 5 rapid-moving dead against us, the motor feels absolutely futile. You are burning all your fuel just to stay in the exact same speed.
You're exhausting yourself.
Yeah. If you catch the current, if you align the boat with the flow of the river, suddenly that same motor propels you forward at impossible speeds.
That fluid dynamics analogy works much better than just a simple ocean concept because it implies directional force. And that is exactly what Daiva is.
Okay.
You still have to run the motor. The text absolutely does not advocate for sitting in the boat and doing nothing.
Right, you can't just drop the oars.
Exactly. But your motor's output is entirely contextualized by the power and direction of the river. And to truly understand how to navigate that river, we can't just look at the water. We have to look at the gravitational forces and the subterranean pumps that are generating those currents.
Which means we need to look at the actual machinery running the universe.
Yes.
And this is where the text gets astonishingly detailed. I mean, it breaks down the cosmic machinery into 4 very specific, specialized forms. The Chatuvyuha.
Right, the 4 divine forms. The text explains that inside the Hiranyagarbha, which translates to the golden womb or the galactic egg.
Essentially the epicenter of creation.
Exactly. Inside that, the divine element divides into 4 specific functional forms of Vishnu. And we need to be clear here, the text isn't talking about characters in a mythological story.
It's not a fairy tale.
No, it is describing functional components of a vast thermodynamic and energetic system.
I just love how mechanical this is. So let's explore this factory floor. What is the first component?
The text starts with brihaspati Vishnu.
Okay, brihaspati.
It calls this the gatekeeper or the guide, and it associates this form with intellect, justice, the teachings of saints, and specifically the Navagraha, which is the planet Jupiter in astrology.
Wait, Jupiter. So how does that work functionally?
The role of the gatekeeper is vital, and the connection to Jupiter is deeply mechanical, not just symbolic.
Okay, lay it on me.
In astrophysics, Jupiter is a massive gravity well. It sweeps the inner solar system of debris, it protects the inner planets, and it organizes the orbital structure.
Without it, Earth would just be pelted with asteroids all the time.
Exactly. So in the microcosm of human consciousness, brihaspati Vishnu acts as that same gravitational force for the intellect.
Oh, interesting.
It organizes chaotic thoughts and protects the mind from base destructive instincts, pulling it toward higher wisdom.
So it's the structural integrity of the mind.
Yes.
And the text lays out a strict sequence here. It says, a human's internal Jupiter, their capacity for wisdom and higher learning, must connect with the cosmic brihaspati Vishnu first.
You cannot skip steps.
Without this gatekeeper allowing you access, no one can connect to spirituality, merit, or dharma.
Precisely. You cannot forcefully hack your way into cosmic alignment. You have to pass the bouncer.
I love that, the bouncer of the universe.
If your intellect is entirely consumed by base, selfish desires, the gravity well of brihaspati simply doesn't catch you. You bounce off.
Wow.
But if you have the humility and the intellect to seek truth, the gate opens.
Okay, so the gatekeeper lets you in. What happens next? We hit Form 2, Agni Vishnu, the illuminator, right? The text associates this with energy, the fire of knowledge, and the thirst for truth. It says this form causes cosmic transmutation.
This is where we get into thermodynamics. Think of Agni Vishnu as the ignition system.
Okay.
Once you are inside the gate, once your intellect is aligned, you need a spark to actually change your state of being.
To actually do something with that alignment.
Exactly.
Right.
When a human being suddenly feels a burning, undeniable desire to know the truth, or when a scientist or artist gets a sudden, blinding flash of inspiration that leads to a paradigm-shifting invention.
We usually call that a psychological event. We say, oh, their neurons fired in a unique way.
Right, we reduce it to brain chemistry. But this text posits that it is a literal manifestation of Agni Vishnu.
Really?
It is the cosmic fire of knowledge igniting within the microcosm of the human mind. It is a transfer of thermal energy from the macrocosm to the microcosm.
That is wild.
The idea doesn't originate in your brain. Your brain catches the spark from the cosmic ignition system.
A sudden burst of inspiration is a literal cosmic download catching fire. I mean, that completely changes how you look at genius.
It does.
But as we know from history, a brilliant idea alone doesn't change the world. Like Tesla had brilliant ideas that just died in notebooks. Which brings us to the necessity of Form 3, Indra Vishnu.
The accelerator.
The accelerator. This form represents unyielding courage, leadership, extreme momentum, and even luxury. This is the energy that grants victory in wars and overturns empires.
Agni provides the spark, the combustion, but Indra provides the raw velocity, the horsepower.
The horsepower, okay.
If you look at human history, any time an empire is violently overturned, or a great, unstoppable warrior or political leader arises seemingly out of nowhere and completely changes the course of human events.
We think they're just great tacticians.
Right. But it is not just because they had a good idea or a strong army. The text argues that it is because Indra Vishnu has physically joined their cause. It is the raw, unadulterated momentum of Daiva applying kinetic force to human history. Indra is the battering ram.
So Brihaspati opens the door and organizes the mind. Agni provides the spark of genius. And then Indra gives you the unstoppable kinetic horsepower to smash through the old world order.
It's quite literally an assembly line of destiny.
But then we get to the fourth form, and the machinery actually splits into two distinct alternating paths.
It does, and this is where we see how the universe balances itself over millions of years. Form 4 is Garuda, or Prajapati Vishnu.
The creator and protector.
And here, the machinery branches into the lunar path, the Chandramarg, and the solar path, the Surya Marg.
And these are different eras.
These two paths govern entirely different eras and objectives for humanity.
Let's dig into the mechanics of these paths, starting with the lunar path. The text describes it as moving southward. It is known as the Night of the Gods.
Yes.
Here, the fourth form is Prajapati, paired with a one-headed Garuda. Now, why one head? What does that represent mechanically?
The single head of the Garuda represents a unidirectional force. It is a vector pointing outward.
Outward, okay.
The lunar path is driven by prana shakti, which is life force or raw, vital nature. Because the force is pointing entirely outward, the focus of existence becomes deeply material.
Like expansion.
Exactly. This path rules over the building of massive empires, the creation of strong economies, the raising of huge armies, and the continuation of generational lineage. It is nature expanding upon itself.
So it's about density. It's about building physical structures and dominating the physical world.
Yes.
The text notes it is tied to the Atharva Veda, which makes perfect sense because that is the Veda most concerned with daily life, medicine, society, and practical worldly knowledge.
Right, the practical stuff.
And this path peaks during a specific era called the Dwapar Yuga.
Yes. The Dwapar Yuga is an era characterized by complex societal structures, massive wars, and profound material advancements. It is humanity focused on the external.
But it can't last forever.
Right. No, the universe cannot infinitely expand outward without eventually collapsing or depleting its resources, which is why the machinery eventually shifts to the solar path.
The solar path, the text says this moves northward. It is the day of the gods. And here the machinery uses a two-headed Garuda. Walk me through the physics of the two heads.
If the one-headed Garuda is unidirectional expansion, the two-headed Garuda represents bidirectional tension.
Pulling in opposite directions.
Right. It pulls energy in two directions simultaneously, creating a balance between the material and the spiritual, which ultimately draws the energy inward and upward.
Oh, wow.
Instead of being driven by raw nature or prana shakti, the solar path is driven by pure prana, pure consciousness, or purusha.
So the entire focus of humanity shifts. It is no longer about building earthly empires or accumulating wealth. It is about liberation, detachment, and ascending to higher realms.
Exactly. The kinetic energy is directed internally rather than externally.
Fascinating.
This path peaks in the Yuga, an era of high spiritual resonance, and is connected to the Triveda, the Rig, Yajur, and Samavedas, which are focused on hymns, cosmic truths, and internal rituals.
Okay, let me try out a structural analogy here.
Let's hear it.
It's like the universe is operating on a massive planetary shift of seasons. The lunar path is like summer and autumn. It's the season of massive growth, harvesting, hoarding resources, building barns, and expanding the footprint of humanity.
Right.
But the solar path is winter and spring. It's a time when the external growth stops, the energy pulls back deep into the roots, deep into the earth, focusing entirely on internal survival and the purity of the seed for the next cycle.
That is a highly accurate way to frame it. The lunar and solar paths are the cosmic seasons of human consciousness.
Cosmic seasons.
And if we look back through human history, you can see these seasons exerting their gravitational pull. We have prolonged eras where the greatest minds are entirely obsessed with engineering, conquest, and economic dominance.
That's the lunar path.
Right. And then we have eras where the zeitgeist shifts dramatically toward philosophy, asceticism, and spiritual liberation, the dominance of the solar path.
Okay, so these massive cosmic operating systems, these seasons, are running the galaxy. But, I mean, I am not a galaxy. I'm a person sitting in my house trying to figure out my life.
Fair point.
How does this massive machinery, this Chaturvyuha with its gates and engines, actually interact with my biology? How does the macrocosm touch the microcosm?
The source material is remarkably concrete on this point. The entire science of the universe operates in miniature within you.
Inside the body.
Yes. The human body is not just a vessel, it is a perfect biological replica of the cosmic machinery. And the text maps this specifically onto two major organs, the brain and the heart.
Let's look at the brain first. The text says the brain is the seat of Shiva, representing pure consciousness or prana. And it describes the brain mechanically as an antenna that is constantly exposed to the cosmos.
Yes, the brain is the receiver. It is constantly picking up the latent signals of the universe. But, as any sound engineer will tell you, an antenna picking up every frequency at once just produces deafening white noise.
Just static.
Exactly. You need a way to isolate the signal you actually want. That is where the heart comes in.
The heart is identified as the seat of Vishnu. It acts as the tuner.
Exactly. And the frequency the heart chooses to tune into isn't arbitrary. It's not just what you wish for today.
It's not the secret.
No, not at all. The text states that the heart determines its frequency based on your true underlying emotions, your past actions, your unexpressed desires, and your accumulated karma.
So we aren't just talking about a simple radio dial. This is more like acoustic resonance.
Go on.
Like if you strike a tuning fork, only the object in the room that is naturally built to hold that exact same frequency will start vibrating in response.
That is the perfect mechanical explanation, acoustic resonance.
Right.
The brain, the antenna, is bombarded with possibilities. I want to be a great leader, or I want to achieve enlightenment. But the heart is the resonant chamber.
Oh, I see.
If the physical and spiritual shape of your heart, which has been warped or refined by every selfish or selfless action you've ever taken, doesn't naturally resonate at the frequency of great leader, the signal simply dies. The vibration stops.
This explains so much about human frustration. Why do our best intentions often fail? Why does the whole positive thinking movement often fall flat?
Because it's only half the equation.
Right. It's because the conscious thought, the brain signal, is just an idea. If the resonant chamber of the heart is clogged with the static of unresolved karma, deep-seated fears, or pure ego, it rejects the brain's input.
It can't process it.
The cosmic machinery of Daiva cannot flow through an instrument that is out of tune.
Precisely. The cosmic fluid dynamics we talked about earlier will simply bypass you. The machinery will not engage unless the heart's frequency perfectly matches the brain's resolve.
Wow.
And the text gives a very specific, almost startling definition for what happens when that perfect match occurs. It calls that exact state of synchronization dharma.
Wait, really? Because if you ask almost anyone today, they will translate dharma as religion, or duty, or a rigid set of moral rules you have to follow.
We do tend to translate it that way, yes. But the text strips all of that societal baggage entirely away. It defines dharma using the ancient Sanskrit phrase, dharyati iti dharma, that which is worth upholding, or that which sustains the system.
Sustains the system.
In the context of this mechanical universe, dharma is not a rule book. It is the exact biological spiritual state of structural resonance between Shiva in the brain and Vishnu in the heart.
So dharma is internal synchronization.
Yes.
It's the moment the tuning fork of the brain and the resonant chamber of the heart vibrate in absolute perfect harmony, and all the biological static disappears.
And when you achieve that state of resonance, the text says you are granted invincible bravery and leadership.
Just automatically.
Well, why? Because you are no longer operating on your own limited human battery power. Your internal machinery has locked into the external cosmic machinery.
You become a conduit. You become the physical vessel for the Indra-Vishnu energy we talked about earlier, that unstoppable acceleration. Because your internal fluid dynamics are finally flowing in the exact same direction as the cosmic river.
Exactly.
That is incredibly empowering. It takes spirituality out of the realm of guilt, sin, and punishment, and puts it entirely into the realm of physics and frequency.
It makes it a functional science.
Yeah.
But while it is empowering on an individual level, we have to look at what happens when this mechanic scales up.
Oh, right.
What happens when the cosmic frequency shifts, not just for one person, but for the entire planet? How does this machinery move millions of people at once?
This brings us to a massive chunk of the report that looks at historical evidence. Because if this is a science, it has to be observable in human history.
It has to have data points.
Exactly. And the text argues that history does not move in a straight, progressive line based on who wins elections or who invents better technology. History moves according to massive, mathematically predictable fluctuations of Daiva.
The text mentions specific celestial mechanisms that govern this, like the Sushumna chakra and the movements of Rahu, and we need to explain how these work mechanically.
Okay, let's break that down.
The Sushumna chakra is described in Puranic astronomy as a celestial formation, often envisioned as a cosmic dolphin, representing the central polar axis of the universe.
So we are talking about the literal turning of the cosmic gears, the precession of the equinoxes.
Exactly. It is the slow, massive rotation of the celestial sphere. When the Sushumna chakra shifts, the baseline frequency of the Earth shifts.
Okay, and what about Rahu?
Then you have forces like Rahu. In Vedic astrology, Rahu represents the eclipsing force. It is the node that swallows the sun or the moon.
The shadow.
Mechanically, Rahu is the injection of necessary chaos. It is the stress test applied to the structural integrity of a society to break down what is stagnant.
And the text gives vivid examples of this in action, starting with scripture. It looks at the Ramayana, specifically Lord Rama's exile. On the very day Rama is supposed to be crowned king, which should be a moment of absolute triumph and societal stability, a series of bizarre, petty, political maneuvers by his stepmother results in him being exiled to the forest for 14 years.
It seems terrible.
To anyone watching, it looks like a catastrophic failure of justice, a glitch in the matrix.
But the text argues it was not a glitch. It was a highly orchestrated maneuver by Daiva.
How so?
If Rama had stayed and become king that day, he would have been a great ruler of a single kingdom. But the macro-level threat to the world was the demon king Ravana, who was hoarding the world's energy and destabilizing the Earth's frequency.
So the exile was a setup.
Daiva orchestrated the exile because it was the only mechanical pathway to put Rama in the forest, draw Ravana into conflict, and allow Rama to destroy him, thereby restoring the global balance.
Daiva plays the ultimate long game. Setbacks are just slingshots.
That's a great way to put it.
And the text applies the exact same mechanical analysis to the Mahabharata. The Pandavas are the rightful heirs to the throne, yet they lose absolutely everything in a rigged game of dice.
Right.
They are humiliated, stripped of their kingdom, and sent into exile. It looks like evil has triumphed.
Yet, from the perspective of cosmic mechanics, that entire prolonged process of suffering was required.
Why?
The old regime, the Kauravas, were deeply corrupt but heavily entrenched. Daiva utilized the exile to strip away the Pandavas' reliance on the old power structures, forging their internal resonance, their dharma, so that when the Great War finally came, they were perfectly aligned conduits for Indra's kinetic energy.
Oh, wow.
They destroyed the corrupt structure and built an entirely new righteous empire.
So on a scriptural level, Daiva uses apparent chaos to enforce structural corrections. But the report doesn't just stay in ancient mythology.
No, it moves forward.
It pulls this framework directly into modern times, looking at sweeping geopolitical and religious movements. And just to be very clear with you listening, the text looks at these movements purely as data points of cosmic momentum. We are exploring these historical shifts exactly as the source presents them, as mechanical outputs of a shifting cosmic force. We're not endorsing or taking any political or religious sides here.
Right, it's about treating history as a physics experiment,
Mm.
case studies in collective resonance.
Exactly.
For instance, the text points to the rapid, seemingly unstoppable spread of Islam and Christianity across the globe centuries ago.
Okay.
From a purely historical viewpoint, we attribute that to military strategy, trade rights, or persuasive preaching.
Sure.
But this text argues that those factors were merely the human motor on the boat. The actual reason for their immense, globe-altering expansion was that the celestial machinery, specifically the expansive energy of Indra and the igniting force of Agni, was aligned in a way that heavily favored that specific directional flow.
The cosmic river was surging in that direction, and those movements caught the current perfectly, fundamentally altering the old world orders.
Precisely.
The text also looks at modern spiritual movements, specifically mentioning Premananji Maharaj and the massive global spread of Isaac Akon, the Hare Krishna movement.
Which serves as an excellent example of the brihaspati gatekeeper element activating on a mass scale.
How does that work?
The text argues that when the cosmic flow of Daiva becomes highly favorable for spiritual awakening, the guru element acts as a massive gravity well.
Right, pulling people in.
It can instantly reform the consciousness of millions of youths globally, not through clever marketing, but because the internal tuners of those individuals are suddenly bombarded with a highly resonant cosmic frequency.
It's the planetary equivalent of striking a giant tuning fork.
Yeah.
And millions of people suddenly vibrating at the frequency of devotion.
It's structural resonance on a mass scale.
But the text doesn't just look at expansion, it looks at resilience. It cites the survival of the Jewish people over millennia.
Yes, that's a key point.
The text observes that despite immense global pressure, repeated historical displacement, and constant existential adversity, their ability to stand firm, rebuild, and maintain their identity showcases an immense national daiva.
Now, the concept of a national deva requires us to look back at the mechanics of the tuner. We established that an individual aligns their brain and heart to catch a frequency.
Right.
But how does an entire nation do that?
Right, because that implies that collective karma can act as a single, unified cosmic shield. How does the machinery account for millions of different tuners acting as one?
Think about structural harmonics in architecture. If you have 1,000 people walking randomly on a suspension bridge, their individual footfalls cancel each other out. The bridge barely moves.
Makes sense.
But if those 1,000 people start marching in perfect lockstep, the rhythmic frequency compounds. It creates structural resonance that can literally cause the bridge to undulate or even collapse.
Oh, wow.
A national daiva occurs when the collective resolve of a people forged by deeply shared trauma, unyielding adherence to shared scripture, or an unbreakable collective intent creates a unified, harmonic frequency.
So a shared intense history acts as a giant amplifier for the signal. The collective heart of the nation is beating in lockstep, making their frequency dense enough to withstand the chaotic eclipsing forces of Rahu.
Yes.
That is a brilliant way to understand historical survival, and it really makes you wonder how future historians will view our current global events. Are the things we perceive right now as chaotic accidents, the economic crashes, the bizarre political upheavals, are they actually the precisely orchestrated stress tests by Daiva?
Are we currently in a 14-year exile phase just waiting for the pivot?
Right.
That is exactly the question the final section of the report addresses. And the answer it provides is both chilling and strangely hopeful, because it deals with the exact moment in cosmic time that we are living in right now.
And this is where we have to talk about the 1260 days, the end of an era. I'm going to warn you, listener, the text shifts from analyzing historical mechanics to laying out a very stark, almost terrifying mechanical prophecy.
Let's lay out the timeline the text provides based on the Yuga cycles.
Okay, let's hear it.
It states that the active functional connection of Daiva to the Earth, that cosmic resonance we've been tracking, runs continuously from the Satya Yuga through the Treta Yuga and lasts until the very end of the Dwapar Yuga.
Okay.
However, it claims that chronologically, we are currently at the absolute pale end of a transition period between Kaliyuga and a new Dwapar Yuga.
And it says this specific cycle is going to end with major physical and structural disasters. We're talking about severe earthquakes, massive water disasters, volcanic eruptions.
The Earth itself will undergo a violent thermodynamic reboot.
But the physical destruction of the planet isn't actually the most shocking part of the prophecy. The text says that when this disaster reaches its apex, Daiva disconnects from the mortal realm entirely. The connection is severed.
The signal goes completely dead. The text describes this as a period where demonic or highly negative forces will blanket the Earth.
That sounds terrifying.
It does, but we need to understand this mechanically, not just morally. Demonic here refers to pure entropy.
Entropy, right. Chaos.
The divine organizing gravity of brihaspati and the forward momentum of Indra are no longer present to hold the system together. Without the structural integrity provided by Daiva, the system rapidly devolves into chaos.
And it gives a very specific duration for this total cosmic disconnect. Approximately 1,260 days.
3.5 years of a cosmic blackout.
The spiritual machinery we just spent all this time understanding, the gatekeeper, the illuminator, the accelerator, it all just shuts down. The gears stop turning.
Let's truly analyze the implications of that. If a machinery stops, what happens to the human microcosm?
Right, to us.
The text lists the current symptoms leading up to this disconnect, and they map perfectly onto the withdrawal of these cosmic forces. Endless, indecisive wars. The slow, grinding destruction of nations, the breakdown of families, communities, and economies.
Think about that mechanically based on what we've learned. Why are the current wars endless and indecisive?
Because the accelerator is gone.
Exactly. Because Indra Vishnu, the specific cosmic element that grants decisive victory and overturns empires with massive momentum, is actively withdrawing its energy.
Right.
Without Indra, conflicts don't resolve. There is no conquering blow. Nations just drag on in a state of perpetual friction, bleeding each other completely dry. It's a slow-motion structural collapse rather than a clean defeat.
The system is bleeding kinetic energy. But the text goes even further, describing the psychological reality post-disaster during the 1,260 days of absolute silence.
This part is wild.
It says humanity will literally begin to lose language and writing. We will revert to an isolated, highly combative, almost feral nature.
We have to explore the psychological horror of that for a second. Losing language. Why would humanity suddenly lose the ability to speak or write?
Let's go back to the Chaturvyuha.
Right. Brihaspati is the intellect, the gravity well that organizes thought. Agni is the fire of shared knowledge.
Exactly.
If those forms completely withdraw their energy from the human microcosm, the brain's antenna has absolutely nothing to receive. The cognitive glue that holds human civilization together, our ability to formulate syntax, to communicate complex abstract ideas, to feel empathy for a neighbor, to build upon past knowledge, it simply dissolves.
It's the ultimate de-evolution. Without the brihaspati element, there is no shared intellect. Your mind cannot hold on to the abstract concept of a society or a future.
You're just reacting.
You are trapped entirely in the immediate terrifying present. We become profoundly isolated, reacting only to base survival instincts.
It is a terrifying vision, a true dark age. But the text assures us this is not a permanent state of entropy. It is a necessary mechanical pause, a clearing of the cosmic cache.
Like turning it off and on again.
Literally. Because after the 1,260 days, Daiva reconnects. The power grid comes back online, laying the energetic foundation for a completely new Yuga cycle, a new Satya Yuga, an era of pristine truth.
And because this isn't just the end of a small historical epoch, but the end of a multi-million-year overarching cycle, the system requires a hard, conscious reset.
Right.
The structural integrity must be reestablished from the ground up. This is where the text introduces the Kalki avatar.
the final partial avatar of Vishnu. Now, when most people think of Kalki, they imagine, a comic book superhero.
Right, writing down from the heavens.
A glowing deity dropping from the sky on a white horse with a flaming sword to save the day while we all watch in awe. But the text completely subverts that expectation.
It does. It portrays Kalki in a remarkably grounded, almost brutally mechanistic way.
How so?
It states that Kalki will emerge, but he will live as an ordinary, unrecognizable person leading up to the shift. He will be entirely constrained by the exact same cosmic pause, the exact same 1,260 days of chaotic darkness as everyone else.
I found that detail so fascinating. He's stuck in the dark with us. He doesn't have a secret infinite battery pack. He is a biological human waiting for the cosmic grid to power back up.
Exactly.
But here's the mechanical difference. During the dark night, his internal tuner, his heart, remains in a state of absolute pristine dharma. So the moment those 1,260 days end and Daiva re-enters the Earth's atmosphere, it instantly seeks the path of least resistance.
Yes.
It instantly locks onto his perfectly tuned frequency.
It is the ultimate lightning rod. And at that moment of reconnection, his internal resonance scales up to meet the macrocosm.
And what happens then?
He will begin to perform impossible systemic feats. He will be recognized by society not because he descended from the clouds, but because he is the only entity fully channeling the Indra and Agni energy.
Oh, wow.
He will dismantle the remaining chaos and usher in a long-lasting peace after a final, great restructuring war.
It perfectly ties together everything we've talked about. Kalki represents the ultimate perfected state of Dharma, the flawless oneness of Shiva in the brain and Vishnu in the heart, but operating on a scale designed to literally reboot the gravitational center of the entire planet.
It is an intense, sweeping vision, but as we look at the reality of this text, we have to acknowledge that it doesn't leave the reader paralyzed by this prophecy.
Thankfully.
It doesn't tell you to just hide in a bunker and wait for the end. It actually provides a highly practical, surprisingly empowering methodology for how to survive this transition.
It circles all the way back to the very first question we asked, the tension between destiny and free will, between the river current and the boat's motor.
Right.
The ultimate message of this report is that Daiva, the cosmic destiny, and Purusharth, human effort, are not enemies. They're not mutually exclusive concepts fighting for control. They are entirely complementary pieces of the same engine.
You don't just sit in the boat and drop the oars because you know a Category 5 rapid is approaching.
Right. We cannot control the cosmic timeline. We cannot stop the physical disasters. We cannot negotiate with the 1,260 days of silence. And we cannot halt the massive turning of the Yuga cycles.
No, we can't.
But we can control our Purusharth. We can control the purity and the structural integrity of our own resolve.
The text advises that the only way to prepare your internal machinery is through selfless action. It uses the term nishkam karma.
Nishkam karma.
By fulfilling our daily duties naturally, with absolute integrity, and without being selfishly obsessed with the rewards or the outcomes, we actually strengthen our own Daiva.
Let's explain how that works mechanically, because this is the key to everything. We aren't just being good people to earn points.
No, it's not a moral scoreboard.
By engaging in nishkam karma, by acting selflessly, we are actively clearing the biological and spiritual static out of our heart's resonant chamber. Selfishness, ego, and greed create chaotic vibrations. They warp the shape of the tuner.
Exactly.
Selfless action smooths it out.
It is internal maintenance. You are upgrading your own receiver, so that when the cosmic signal of Daiva is active, or when it violently surges back online after the blackout, your heart doesn't shatter from the input.
It's ready for it.
It catches the absolute best, most pristine frequency possible. And the text promises that a person who has strengthened their internal Daiva in this way not only survives the incoming chaos, but actually becomes a localized beacon.
Wow.
They help direct and stabilize society, and eventually their internal frequency matches the highest realms of supreme bliss.
It is the ultimate synthesis of physics and spirituality. The external machinery of the universe may be vastly powerful, turning the gears of empires and epochs. But the internal machinery of your own heart is the only key that can actually unlock it.
The macrocosm is dictated by time. The microcosm is dictated by choice.
Which brings me to a final thought for you, the listener. We've talked deeply about engineering today, blueprints, the profound, inescapable mechanics of destiny. The text tells us that a period of 1,260 days is coming where the cosmic signal of Daiva goes completely dark, where the intellect shatters and the world descends into silence. But if our effort, our daily choices, and our selfless actions are the very tools we use to clear the static and build our internal reservoir of destiny. Or the mundane actions you are taking right now, today, the actual battery pack you are building to sustain your consciousness through that cosmic dark night. Something to think about as you go about your day. Thanks for joining this deep dive.